My neighbor set me up on a joke date. I almost didn't go. But that one coffee didn't just change my love life. It dragged me into a danger I never signed up for. And walking away was never an option. I almost didn't go. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror for a long time, staring at my own reflection like it was about to give me permission, or a warning. My neighbor Mark's voice echoed in my head, laughing when he'd said it. Bro, just go. It'll be fun. Worst case, you get a free coffee and a story to tell. A story to tell. That's what people say when they already know something's going to go wrong. Mark had lived next door to me for 3 years. Loud guy. Always joking. Always claiming he knew people. I should have known better than to trust him when he said he had a friend who was perfect for me. He'd smirked when he said it, but I ignored that part because, well, my life was painfully quiet. 32 years old. Single. Same routine every day. Wake up. Work. Come home. Microwave dinner. Sleep. Repeat. So I put on a clean shirt, grabbed my keys, and told myself this was just coffee. Nothing more. The cafe was one of those cozy places with warm lights, wooden tables, and soft music that made you feel like you were supposed to be having deep conversations there. I arrived early, ordered a black coffee, and chose a table near the window. That's when my phone buzzed. Mark, she's on her way, tears of joy. That emoji should have been my second warning. I was already planning my polite exit speech when the cafe door opened. And then, everything slowed down. She stepped inside, hesitating for a moment like she wasn't sure she belonged there. Her hair was slightly messy, like she'd fought the wind on the way. She wore a simple dress, nothing flashy, but there was something about the way she held herself, guarded, tired, yet quietly strong. Our eyes met. She smiled, uncertain but real. My brain short-circuited. There was no way this was a joke. She walked toward me, each step making my heart beat louder. When she stopped at my table, she tilted her head slightly. Hi, are you Alex? I stood up so fast I almost knocked my chair over. Yeah, I'm Alex. You must be Emma, she said, extending her hand. Her handshake was warm, steady, not a joke, not even close. We sat down, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. It was one of those silences that could either become awkward or meaningful. So, I finally said, forcing a smile, Mark set this up. She laughed softly, rolling her eyes. Unfortunately, yes. That laugh did something to me. I had a feeling, she continued. He said you were harmless. I raised an eyebrow. Wow, high praise. She laughed again, this time more freely. I mean that in a good way. We ordered coffee, then pastries, then somehow, without realizing it, an hour passed. Emma talked about her job at a small nonprofit. About how she'd moved to the city 2 years ago to start over. I told her about my work, my boring routines, my failed attempts at dating apps. She didn't judge. She listened. At one point, she stared into her cup for a little too long, her smile fading. You okay? I asked. She hesitated. Yeah, sorry. This is nice. Unexpectedly nice. Something in her voice told me that nice wasn't something she'd had much of lately. Another hour passed. People around us came and went. The barista wiped tables. The afternoon light shifted. I didn't want it to end. When we finally stood to leave, I felt that familiar panic, the one that comes when you know a good moment is slipping away. I had fun, I said quickly. More than I expected. She smiled, but there was a flicker of sadness behind it. Me too. Outside the cafe, the air was cooler. Cars passed. Life moved on. Well, she said, adjusting her bag. On her shoulder, I should get going. Yeah, of course. There was a pause. Too long. Too important. Would you like to do this again? I asked, my voice quieter now. Without Mark's interference. She looked at me for a long second, like she was weighing something heavy. I'd like that, she said. I really would. Relief flooded through me. We exchanged numbers. She waved and walked away, turning once to smile back at me. I stood there like an idiot until she disappeared around the corner. As soon as I got home, my phone buzzed. Mark. So. Tears of joy. I stared at the screen, then typed back. Me. You owe me an explanation. His reply came instantly. Mark. Relax. I just wanted to see if you'd actually show up. Didn't think you'd click that hard. I frowned. Me. What do you mean? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Mark. Just, be careful, man. That was the 3rd warning. That night, I lay in bed replaying Emma's laugh, her smile, the way her eyes softened when she talked about starting over. For the first time in years, I felt hopeful. I had no idea that this date was the beginning of the most painful, beautiful, life-altering chapter I'd ever lived. And I definitely didn't know the truth about Emma. Not yet. The next morning, I woke up smiling like an idiot. It took me a second to remember why, and then it all came rushing back. Emma's laugh, the way she'd looked at me like she actually saw me, the unexpected warmth of that coffee shop. My phone was the first thing I reached for. No messages. I told myself to relax. It had only been one date. A good one, sure, but still just a date. By noon, I couldn't help myself. Me. Hey, I had a great time yesterday. Hope your day's going well. I stared at the screen, waiting. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Just as I was convincing myself I'd imagined the connection, my phone buzzed. Emma. Hi. I was hoping you'd text. I had a really nice time too. Something loosened in my chest. We started talking like that, small messages at first, then longer ones. About work. About favorite movies. About stupid childhood memories. It felt easy, like we'd known each other longer than a single afternoon. We met again 2 days later. Then again that weekend. Walks through the park. Late night diners. Sitting in my car talking long after we'd said goodbye because neither of us wanted to be the one to leave first. But there were moments, small, sharp moments, that didn't quite fit. Sometimes, when her phone rang, she'd glance at the screen and go still. Her smile would vanish, replaced by something tense and distant. She never answered those calls around me. Just silenced the phone and tucked it away. Once, when I casually asked where she lived, she gave me a general area, not an address, then quickly changed the subject. I told myself everyone had secrets. I had my own. It didn't have to mean anything. One evening, about 3 weeks in, Emma came over to my place for the first time. She stood in my doorway, looking around like she was memorizing every detail. The shoes by the door, the picture frames on the wall, the half-dead plant on the windowsill. You okay? I asked. She nodded, smiling. Yeah, it's just peaceful here. We cooked together, bumping elbows, laughing when I burned the garlic bread. After dinner, we sat on the couch, the TV playing something neither of us was watching. Her head rested against my shoulder. I'd never felt so calm. I should tell you something, she said suddenly. My heart skipped. Okay. She sat up, twisting her fingers together. I'm not great at letting people in. If I pull away sometimes, it's not because of you. I searched her face. Emma, you don't owe me anything. I know, she said softly. I just don't want to mess this up. The honesty in her voice made me reach for her hand. She squeezed it tightly, like she was afraid to let go. That night, after she left, Mark knocked on my door. I hadn't seen him much since the date. Part of me had avoided him. You look happy, he said, leaning against the doorframe. I am, I replied. And I still don't understand why you called it a joke. He shrugged. Because I didn't think it'd work. That's all. That's not what you said before, I pressed. You told me to be careful. Mark sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, man, Emma's complicated. My chest tightened. How do you know? I just do, he said. She's been through stuff. So have most people. Yeah, he replied quietly. But not like her. I waited for more. He said nothing. Either say it or don't, I snapped. Mark looked at me for a long moment. Just don't fall too fast. It was too late for that. A week later, everything shifted. Emma canceled our plans last minute. Then again 2 days after that. When I finally saw her, she looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her smile thinner. Hey, I said gently. What's going on? She shook her head. I'm sorry. I've just had things. Emma, I said, taking her hands, you can talk to me. Her eyes filled with something that looked like fear. I want to, she whispered. I just don't know how. That night, after she left, I got a message from an unknown number. Stay away from her. I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding. I typed back, who is this? No response. I didn't tell Emma. I didn't want to scare her. I told myself it was probably a prank. Some sick coincidence. But then I started noticing things. A car parked across the street more often than usual. A man who seemed to be watching when Emma walked me to my door one evening. The way she flinched when footsteps echoed too close behind us. One night, she showed up at my place unexpectedly. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. Can I stay here tonight? She asked. Please. I didn't ask questions. I pulled her inside and locked the door. She broke down on my couch, crying harder than I'd ever seen anyone cry. I'm sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry for dragging you into this. I held her, my heart breaking. Into what, Emma? She pulled back, wiping her face. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked straight at me without hiding anything. There's someone, she said. Someone who won't let me go. My stomach dropped. My ex, she continued. He was controlling, manipulative. When I left him, I thought it was over. But it's not, I said. She shook her head. He still watches. He still calls. He still thinks I belong to him. Anger surged through me. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to scare you away, she said. Because being with you made me feel normal again. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Emma, listen to me. You're not alone anymore. Tears streamed down her face. You don't understand. He's dangerous. That night, she slept on my couch. I barely slept at all. The next morning, Mark texted me. Mark, is she with you? I stared at the message, a cold realization creeping in. Me, how do you know about her ex? There was a long pause. Then his reply came. Mark, because I warned you. And because this joke date was never just a joke. My hands started shaking. Suddenly, everything made sense. The smirk, the warnings, the hesitation. Emma wasn't randomly set up with me. She was hiding. And somehow, Mark knew far more than he'd ever told me. I looked at the couch, where Emma slept peacefully for the first time in days. And I realized something terrifying. My life hadn't just changed because I met her. It had changed because someone else had already decided to pull me into her storm. And there was no turning back now. I watched her sleep and realized there was no version of this where I walked away. Morning light crept through the curtains, painting soft shadows across the room. Emma stirred on the couch, her face still tense even in sleep, like her body hadn't learned yet that it was safe. I made coffee quietly, the smell filling the apartment, grounding me. When she woke up, she looked around in confusion, then her eyes met mine. I'm sorry, she said immediately, sitting up. I didn't mean to fall apart like that. You didn't fall apart, I said, handing her a mug. You survived. She wrapped her hands around the cup, breathing in the warmth. You don't have to do this, Alex. Whatever this becomes, you didn't sign up for it. I sat across from her. Maybe I didn't sign up. But I'm here now. She looked like she wanted to argue, but something in my face must have stopped her. She nodded slowly, tears pooling again. Later that day, she told me everything. How she'd met him when she was vulnerable. How he'd isolated her from friends, made her doubt her own memories, her own worth. How leaving him had taken everything she had. How he'd found her again, and again, no matter how many times she moved. He found me through Mark, she said quietly. My chest tightened. What? He didn't mean to, she added quickly. Mark used to know him. When Mark joked about setting me up with someone, harmless, I thought it might help. I didn't know he'd still be watching. The anger I felt wasn't explosive. It was cold, focused. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Enjoying your hero phase. A man's voice said calmly. I said nothing. You think you can protect her? He continued. She always runs back. She's not yours, I said, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at me. He laughed softly. Everyone leaves eventually. The line went dead. Emma saw my face and knew. That night, we didn't sleep. 2 days later, everything came to a head. We were walking back from the grocery store when a familiar car pulled up too fast. The door opened. He stepped out. Emma froze. He looked ordinary. That was the scariest part. Clean clothes. Calm expression. A man you wouldn't notice in a crowd. Emma, he said gently. You didn't answer my calls. I stepped in front of her without thinking. She doesn't want to talk to you. He smiled at me like I was a child. This doesn't concern you. Yes, it does, I said. Leave. For a moment, I thought he might swing. Instead, he leaned closer, lowering his voice. You're making a mistake, he whispered. She ruins everything she touches. I didn't move. People started to stare. Someone pulled out a phone. He stepped back, eyes dark. This isn't over. But this time, he left. Emma collapsed against me, shaking. That night, we went to the police. We showed messages, call logs, patterns, things she'd been too afraid to document before. For the first time, she wasn't alone while telling her story. The process wasn't quick. It wasn't easy. There were court dates, statements, waiting, but there was also healing. Weeks passed, then months. The restraining order came through. The calls stopped. The car disappeared. Emma moved into my place, not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she wanted to. Life didn't magically become perfect. We still had bad days. Triggers. Moments where fear crept back in. But there were good days too. Quiet mornings. Shared laughter. A sense of home neither of us had felt in a long time. One evening, sitting on the same couch where she'd once broken down, Emma took my hand. You know, she said, smiling softly, this all started as a joke. I laughed. Worst joke ever. She shook her head. Best accident of my life. I thought about the man I'd been before that cafe. Lonely. Closed. Off. Afraid of change. I thought about how close I'd come to staying home that night. My whole life changed because of you, I said. She squeezed my hand. Mine changed because you stayed. Sometimes love doesn't arrive gently. Sometimes it crashes into your life disguised as a mistake, a joke, something you almost refuse. But if you're brave enough to stay, it can save you both.